The state agency that regulates natural gas took new action with the goal of preventing problems that contributed to devastating power outages during the February freeze. The Texas Railroad Commission regulates the state's oil and gas industry. On Tuesday, the commission clarified which natural gas facilities must take extra precaution for extreme weather. Monica Madden explains the changes.
There will now be 3 different definitions for what makes a natural gas facility critical, meaning its power would not be shut off during rolling blackouts. Too many did not have that designation last February, leaving millions of Texans in the dark and cold. It's clear there needs to be tiers.
But if we list everyone as critical and maintain their access to electrical power during peak demand, it severely reduces the amount of electricity available to residents and families who need it.
The first group is labeled supercritical, roughly 19,000 natural gas facilities that produce the most in Texas. Those will be required to weatherize no matter what. The 2 other groups consist of mid-level gas producers and facilities that produce little to no gas at all. They will continue to be able to opt out of weatherizing, but under specific conditions.
They will be required to present objective evidence of a reasonable cause and justification for such a request. And each of these requests will be scrutinized by the commission.
This is just a continuation of the same voluntary system that we had going into Winter Storm Uri, and that led to the grid failing in the first place.
These changes are in response to criticism after the Railroad Commission proposed giving some producers the ability to opt out of weatherization with a simple request and a $150 fee.
It is not simply a get-out-of-jail-free card.
The legislature stopped short of mandating winterization for natural gas producers like they did for electric providers. And some critics say these changes should have happened immediately.
The Railroad Commission really is just doing too little too late.
Monica Madden for State of Texas.
During Tuesday's hearing, Railroad Commission Chairman Wayne Christian focused his criticism on the role of renewable energy in February's blackouts. He pointed to failures of wind turbines and solar units as the real problem the state should be addressing. Tahira Rahman takes a closer look at the criticism and the response.
The Texas Railroad Commission Chairman Wayne Christian is pointing a finger at the growing renewable energy sector, saying that's what's behind Texas's unreliable grid.
If you add unreliable wind and solar generation and subtract reliable natural gas generation, that equals a less reliable electric grid. Until we fix this fuzzy math, we're simply putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
In its staff report, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission found that natural gas fuel supply was one of the main causes of outages in Texas and the south central U.S. UT Energy expert Joshua Rhodes also says while we did see some wind turbines fail during the winter storm, the state expected to lean more on natural gas.
There's blame to go around everywhere, and it's not necessarily that we're going after any particular technology. It's just that, if you're relying on something to be there, we need it to be there.
Christian also says incentives for renewable energy have resulted in less money for natural gas.
Preferential treatment and subsidies for unreliable wind and solar power have stifled investment in reliable natural gas generation.
Rhodes, who is also with the Texas Solar Energy Society, says natural gas also gets subsidies, and he doesn't think more plants would have helped during the winter storm.
We weren't able to get natural gas to all of the power plants that we had, so I'm not convinced necessarily that having had more natural gas plants would have meant we would have more electricity. I just think we would have had more natural gas plants that we couldn't get natural gas to.
Tahira Rahman for State of Texas.
A federal report gives a little more insight into impact of different power sources in the February blackouts. The report from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission found that natural gas-fired units made up 58% of those experiencing unplanned outages. Wind accounted for 27% of the units that failed. Coal made up 6% and solar 2%. Wednesday was the deadline for power companies to submit reports on their winter preps to the Public Utility Commission. The PUC and ERCOT are reviewing the reports, about 900 in all. By the end of this week, ERCOT will file a public report outlining how power plants are complying. For perspective, Austin Energy showed us what they shared with the state to make sure the lights stay on this winter. The utility provided these pictures. Their process includes reinforcing insulation, improving heat tracing systems, installing or fixing windbreaks to reduce wind chill, as well as securing heat lamps, propane and electrical heaters, and thermal blankets to warm equipment when necessary. Austin Energy leaders say their winterization work begins each year in October, and it's an ongoing effort across the season. American allies left behind in Afghanistan. As refugees resettle in Texas, one congressman tries to get attention for those still at risk.
We not only left them behind, we betrayed them after we promised them that we would protect them.
The effort to help allies still trapped in Afghanistan and the push to get answers about what went wrong.